Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Did You Hear About This? I'm Bill.
I am Scott.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Not a bad week.
No. I'm on the other end of it now, so you know what they say, the only easy day was yesterday. We got 7 of them behind us, so...
Oh, I like that optimistic view of yours.
That's a realistic view, not optimistic, but
Okay.
I'll take it.
I need both realism and optimism in my soul, so I got to hang out with you more. I'm definitely a half glass empty guy.
Are you maybe this is why we did this podcast, are you the best days are behind us kind of guy?
Sadly, yeah.
Oh, man.
I know.
Then what do you have to look forward to?
It's been an issue as I get older, and I kind of go, wow, I feel kind of irrelevant in this world. Yeah, that's something. But I've always heard that older people start to feel that way.
Yeah.
So now that I'm starting to feel that way, it's like, well, I guess that means you're old.
Yeah, I can honestly say I feel the best is yet to come.
Yeah, I definitely need to be hanging out with you more.
Yeah.
I've always been a pessimistic person.
You turn into a 5-day-a-week show? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, this is going to become my new therapy.
I'm going to start charging.
Well, everybody out there in listener land, I want to remind you, please like and subscribe and do all those things. We're on the YouTubes. We're on all the social media platforms. And remember, all of those likes and comments that you leave, you can leave comments now on Spotify. We get comments on Spotify. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So why don't you go do that for us? And that'll actually help us with the algorithms. And maybe more people will see us as they're searching for podcasts. That'll help us grow.
X is back up and running, as we mentioned before.
Yep.
Facebook is still going.
Facebook is still going, and I forgot we even had it going.
Yeah, I thought you turned it off. I didn't know.
Every once in a while, I remember, I'll go spam, that we posted a new episode there. There's no real interaction there, but I did get a mailbag from Facebook.
Yeah?
Yeah. But before we get into the mailbag, before we get into all that stuff, the main topic today, you have inspired me, Scott. These topics that you have picked lately have been really fascinating to me.
Oh, my God. I can't imagine what this is going to be.
Well, I'm thinking I got to match Scott. He's been really going down the rabbit hole of like crazy historic things.
Okay.
Right? We've talked about, you brought the Killdozer, you brought the Kentucky meat shower, you brought some really oddball things. All that stuff falls into pop culture.
Yeah, Emu Wars. Crikey!
My world of pop culture is all Hollywood. Like, that's kind of what I grew up with. So I like your perspective, bringing in things that are outside of just Hollywood as pop culture, because they are.
Yeah.
So I decided I want to bring a story.
Can we have a title?
I will give you a title. I call it The Great Cheese Siege of 1910, the time a town was held hostage by cheese.
Held hostage by cheese?
Yeah.
Oh, I am intrigued by this.
It's weird, and it's local. It's a local story.
Oh, man. All right, I can't wait to learn.
All right, well, before we get to that, let's get to mailbag.
Mail, motherfucker!
So, as mentioned, I was messaged by somebody, we'll call him Nick from Facebook. Nick wants a movie review. Nick said, hey, would you guys review a movie? He didn't say what movie. He just said, would you guys review a movie? And I know that's popular in the world of movie podcasts and things like that. And you and I have talked about doing it. We said maybe we should have a side show or a side channel maybe where we're either watching and reviewing in real time or just doing our own take on movies. And somebody actually asked for it.
It stinks.
Our conversation was always, how do we do it? Right? Like, do we do it live? Do we just do it and then like edit up and take excerpts from the movie? Do we have people watch along with us? What's the best way for us to do this?
No. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So I could see doing this very shortly, like in the very near future. How about, because I thought we'd probably take off the week between Christmas and New Year's. How about we record this next week, the week after? We'll edit it down and then we'll drop between the week between Christmas and New Year.
I guess my question with it is, if you put it into a podcast feed, it's going to be pretty jarring for some people who aren't used to that type of content. On YouTube, you can have a channel with a bunch of little sub-channels.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, my fear would be like somebody gets their weekly episode and it's a movie review and they go, I don't want that. I don't want a movie review, and then they unfollow. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. We could make like a special episode on a very special Did You Hear About This?
Yes. Yeah. I'm into it.
Does it work as a podcast?
I don't know. We'll have to try to find out. I mean, others do it.
The next big question is, what's the movie?
It will be Debbie Does Dallas.
Oh, we're back to watching porn together again, huh? Is that what you're always trying to drive this point home, Bill?
You said again?
You always said like, oh, we're watching porn after this, right? That was a couple weeks ago.
Did I?
Yeah.
It's my old go-to lines, I guess. Anything I can do to get you to drop in that Debbie Does Dallas porn soundtrack. I think that's the funniest sound drop I think we got.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, I got to tell you something funny. I sent the podcast to my buddy, and he goes, hey, man, I'm listening to your podcast. Did one of you just fart at 4 minutes and 10 seconds in?
You could probably say it 4 minutes, 10 seconds, 4 minutes, 27 seconds, probably 8:30, 11:42. Yeah, there's a lot of fart drops in there. Yeah.
I didn't even respond because I was like, keep listening. You'll figure out that these are sound drops.
I listened back the other day. Maybe it was last week's episode. I don't know. And I dropped a fart noise and nobody said shit. Then I realized I said blowing it out the back door. It just felt right during edit, I guess. Because when I listened back, I was like, what? What was that? Oh, I get it.
That's so funny.
So, yeah. I guess if you have ideas for movies for us to review, hit us up on all the socials and everything Bill just said there before we started talking about this. I'm eager to review a movie.
Yeah, me too. I want to hear your take as we're reviewing it. If it's a live movie, I'm even curious to that. I just don't know how well that works. If we start reviewing a movie in real time as the movie's playing, I know that some people will listen to the commentary and then turn on the movie and watch it. I know that happens out in podcast world.
But then we almost have to have it be like one shot. It's like the one shot, non-edit, cut movie screen. You know what I mean? Like we just have to go from play till end if you're going to try and stream along with us.
Yeah.
That could be a challenge, man.
No editing?
No editing.
All our bad jokes don't get chopped out?
No bad jokes. No real farts. No nothing. No me banging my coffee mug against the mic stand. None of that gets cut out.
Yeah, or otherwise we do it the other way, which is just we review it, we watch it, and then come back and say, hey, we've written up our thoughts.
The only way I see that working is if it's a movie that is so well known, so well ingrained in general pop culture knowledge that you could enjoy commentary and excerpts from the commentary without actually having to watch the movie to have the visual.
Yeah, good point. So if we did a Thanksgiving,
nobody would get
nobody
Thanksgiving.
would get it, yeah. All right, let's think on it a little bit more.
All right.
Thanks for the suggestion. We were just thinking of that, so you've helped reinforce the idea.
Thank you, Nick.
And the next one we got is from Brother Steve. Brother Steve, because he is the first person to listen to our podcast. We drop it at 6 a.m. I'm pretty sure he's our first download every single time.
Is this a fuck uppery? Is he getting on me about something?
No.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
No. He says, so was Scott an X-Files fan? I couldn't tell if the X-Files references on the latest episode were just because of UFOs or because of a UFO buried under the ice in Antarctica, which was a big part of the plot of the X-Files movies from the late X-Files movie from the late 90s.
Like 98, 99.
I never watched any of those X-Files.
I saw the movie. I did. I would watch episodes here and there, but I wasn't like a watch it every week kind of X-Files fan.
But do you remember the movie? Do you remember that?
I do.
So
yeah.
the episode we had last week is
what's about aliens under the ice.
So you totally stole that from X-Files.
I didn't steal it. If anything, X-Files stole it from the thing from the other world.
So the thing from the other world.
Or another world, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That story has been around that long?
1950s. 1951.
Yeah, then it makes sense a 90s show would use that as a
well, and then Carpenter
influence.
redid it with The Thing in 1980.
I guess I thought of that as different because that monster wasn't under the ice. That monster was just landed in Antarctica.
Because, it was the dog. That's how that movie opened up. But the whole thing, well, remember the opening scene when the Scandinavians are chasing the dog with a helicopter and the dog was the alien?
Yes, I do now.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that.
But the fire is what killed the alien.
Right.
If the alien actually died at the end.
Well, we never got a true sequel, so the answer is yes.
Yes, it did. Okay, perfect.
Sure.
But yeah, in that same thing, it was supposed to be an alien that was thawed out from under the ice of Antarctica.
Yeah, it must have been a good episode. Brother Dan actually commented something nice for once.
Yeah, that was probably the most shocking thing about the last episode. I loved the episode. He actually has a colleague or a friend that is going on an Antarctic expedition with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He has a friend that's doing it?
Yeah, like somebody that he works at a not-for-profit or a non-profit with is going to Antarctica on a a sea cruise. I think it's called like Sea in Space or something. And they're going down to, I guess, do scientific things.
There was a flurry of text coming from Dan, so I know what you're talking about, but I didn't really read it. He sent a link.
I didn't click on the link to see what it's all about, but I know there's going to be like all kinds of celebrity type science people from that world on this cruise.
Well, what is William Shatner again? He went to space and now he's going to do this.
Okay, but there's also real science people there, not just people that played science people on TV.
I'm like, who's looking for William Shatner to do any of this stuff? So I missed that part that he actually knows somebody's on that expedition.
Yeah, he does something with this charity, the one he always buys tickets for with your money.
I hate that.
Raffle tickets and things.
Yeah.
That charity, somebody he knows through there is going to Antarctica on this cruise.
Yeah, that's his move. Hey, Bill, you owe me $50. I'm like, for what? You just bought tickets. I'm like, I did what?
Well, I mean, it was nice to hear nice words for a change.
It's rare.
Usually it's emojis with like poop and throwing up and thumbs down and boy, this topic stinks.
Where's my Captain Planet retrospective? What?
Yeah, we're not going to do the X-Files movie for this, and we're not going to do the Captain Planet the movie for our movie review. I'll tell you that. Speaking of UFOs under ice and other things, have you been watching the Skeleton Crew that just came out? Star Wars: The Skeleton Crew?
No, I watched the breakdown from.
Are you doing this again? You're doing the Agatha All Along?
Yeah, it's a kid's movie. I have no interest in it.
It gives me E.T. Goonies vibes, like they said it was going to.
Yeah.
I'm interested in where it goes, to be honest with you.
So you saw the first episode?
Yeah, they dropped the first two. I watched the first two.
And you're still in?
I like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, kid at heart.
I guess.
What do you like about it?
You can tell it's taking place in a Star Wars type world. Like I've been asking for all along. As of right now, 2 episodes in, it doesn't connect to the goddamn Skywalkers, so I'm happy with that. It got pirates. It feels like they went to One-Eyed Willie's.
Yeah, that's what the Screen Crush review said. But I see that one character is Dumbo. I'm out.
No,
I don't know.
He's like Max Rebo from the Max Rebo band at the Cantina.
Yeah, but looking at a little baby elephant as one of the core members, just, I don't know. I'm having trouble getting past that.
I mean, I do have some complaints, like they didn't do a great job introducing these characters. I don't think I knew the main character kid's name until like maybe the beginning of episode 2. I can only name, the only person I can name in that whole show is the elephant kid. His name's Hank, which I thought was a funny name for an alien elephant kid. Hank. I think the main kid's name is Win, but I don't know if I'm even hearing that right or saying that right. But yeah, like they didn't do a great job of character introductions.
I saw scenes where they're in a school bus, like they're in this little suburban neighborhood in Star Wars. That's a first. I've never seen a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just done with Star Wars until they start doing stuff that's related to the stuff I like and the stuff you are sick of. Yeah.
I think you're going to be waiting a while.
I think so too. I'm not that excited. I mean, even, I got to be honest, I told you that I liked Andor after I didn't. I'm not really excited for season 2. I think all the Star Wars is kind of, that's been shitty lately for me, just taking the appetite away. It's kind of like I told you I used to be a huge baseball fan till the strike. And, and then I never went back. So I feel like that's happening to me now with Star Wars.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make something really good to get me back. And I don't even know if The Mandalorian is interesting enough for me anymore.
Well, they do that thing where as soon as something seems to be like struggling a little bit, it's like, we're going to loosely, poorly write this to connect to the Skywalker line and the Skywalker stories. And I feel like it's just phoning it in.
Yeah.
Again, selling on nostalgia. It's almost like what Dan Aykroyd said about Ghostbusters. Like, stop bringing back the old people. Do something new. Tell a good story. Don't keep relying on fucking nostalgia. Just like jam this down my throat.
Yeah, I think he's right. It kind of echoes what we've been saying too.
But that sounds like the opposite of what you're saying. You want more Skywalker stuff. You want it to all connect.
I don't want nostalgia for nostalgia's shit's sake.
Okay.
But I want a good story connected to the world that I grew up with. Like Star Wars to me is a lot of the things that I saw in those first 7, 8 movies.
Yeah.
6 movies.
6 movies. Once you got to 7, 8, 9, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, you kind of got a point. I am kind of sounding a little hypocritical, but I don't know. The stories just aren't what they used to be for me, and they don't attract me anymore.
The thing that I'm hoping that this becomes, you remember, or maybe you haven't heard about this, Lucas had a whole made-for-TV series written out. It was going to be all about the Star Wars underworld
Yeah.
and the mobs and not mobs, but the clans, the pikes, and the crime syndicates. That's what they
Right.
call them.
Right.
I think that's what this is going to become.
You think? This kid's show?
Well, they went to this pirate planet, it's like this planet like built into an asteroid where all these ships are like docked up to it. And there's like gangplanks and stuff. So it's like very piratey feeling. I think you're going to see pikes. I think you're going to see huts. I think you're going to see all kinds of these crime syndicates and how they're operating in this new republic.
So what I do know is when George Lucas went to sell everything to Disney, it was after he tried to make that, it was called Outlaws or something?
Well, Outlaws is a new video game.
That's the game.
So some of that came from that.
Underworld.
Underworld, I think it was called.
Yeah, and he had this ambitious project in mind. Like, we're going to make a TV show. It's going to be Star Wars. They put together scenes. Like, there's actually footage of some it's test footage of what they were trying to build.
Yeah.
And then George just got to the point where he's like, this is going to be way too expensive. This is too ambitious. TV isn't quite ready for this yet. And then after that, he sold everything to Disney.
Maybe streaming is ready for it. And one thing you know from anybody that's followed Star Wars news and Star Wars lore, none of those ideas, even Disney, none of those ideas like really truly ever go away. They might shelve them for now. Like we talked about how there was that whole story that came out that Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to have been Qui-Gon Jinn, and then when Liam Neeson's character died, he took on the title of Obi-Wan.
Right.
And now in the latest trilogy, Rey took on the name of Skywalker after Luke died or passed on and Leia passed on.
Oh, yeah.
So
right.
like they kind of reuse that storyline. They will eventually work it in somewhere. So if this new show is where they work in this underworld show or these underworld stories, I'm here for it.
Yeah, the thing I heard was when Lucas sold everything to Disney, he was expecting Disney to go a certain way because he had plans for the next movies.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he turns around and it's like everything he thought of was gone.
Yeah.
And it pissed him off, evidently. But like you said, a lot of what he passed over.
Oh, go cry into your millions of dollars, you jerk.
But what he passed over was a ton of little ideas that, to your point, pop up here and there and all sorts. So yeah, maybe this show is what you're saying it's going to be.
I hope it is.
But the Underworld show is supposed to be very mafioso. It was supposed to be inspired by The Sopranos.
Yeah.
I don't see this kid show being...
I don't think it's going to be that harsh, but maybe.
Yeah. All right, if it turns that way, tell me and I'll tune in.
Like if the Penguin show on Max is basically Batman's version of The Sopranos, if they make Skeleton Crew the Star Wars version of Sopranos, I'm here for it.
I'm here for it. That's a very millennial thing to say.
Is it?
Yeah, you're one of the people.
I don't think so, Tim.
I don't know about that. My kids and coworkers would strongly disagree.
I know. Man, I'm at work feeling like I'm on an island. I don't understand what anybody's saying. Everybody else seems to understand each other.
I'm the old man everywhere I go. Work, my house, public, it seems. Yeah.
Well, you're not 50 yet.
No.
Hang on, it gets
Soon
worse.
enough. Give me 5 years. So that's what I've been watching. Nothing else really new. Still a lot of YouTube. A lot of 30 Rock, like snippets of 30 Rock episodes have been popping up on my YouTube and Chappelle Show and like just old comedy. And I've been enjoying it. I can tell you that. But more than what I'm watching, I'm curious, what are you listening to?
Oh, what am I listening to?
And don't tell me what you're listening to. Everybody's talking about the Spotify
Raps.
end of year rap
Yep.
thing. Have you done this?
They do it every year.
I know. I did it last year. I just did it this year. Have you done it?
Have I done it? What do you mean done it?
Have you looked at it? Have you seen what your rap is? Have you seen your yearly summary?
Yeah, we share them with each other at work. So I've looked at my top artists, but that's it. Top artists and top songs. I didn't really go deeper into it.
All right. For people out there listening that don't know what we're talking about, if you use the Spotify app, if you pop it open, right at the top of the home screen, there's actually a button that says Wrapped. And if you hit the Let's Go button, it will basically give you a summary of everything you listen to on Spotify. It'll tell you your number one artist, your number one song. And if you let it go long enough, oh my God.
I was just pulling it up for us.
If you let it go long enough, it'll actually tell you podcast information as well. So
It's an obnoxious presentation, though.
it really is. It's like it reminds me of what was that flying toaster's screensaver like After Dark?
I don't even know.
It was like a Windows 3.1.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so you wouldn't get screen burn in.
Right.
That's what this thing
Yeah,
reminds me
flight
of.
toasters. This is like Instagram stories, if you guys use that. You got to tap through a bunch of different stories till you finally get what you want.
So I can tell you my number one artist, Pink Floyd. However, my number one song, Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones.
Does that feel right?
I don't know. Did I get really dark after the election? Like, I don't know when this occurred.
The thing, so we shared screenshots with each other at work, and I said, I don't think this fully represents what I'm really listening to. And one of my employees said, you say that every year. But
Really?
my number one artist is Van Halen. No surprise there.
That
I've
seems right.
been on a Van Halen kick this year. Top song is Lump by Presidents of the United
Presidents of
States.
the United States of America.
She's in my
Now, I am playing in a 90s cover band, so I have had a lot of 90s stuff coming up because I got to learn
I
it.
pictured you as more of a Peaches kind of guy.
I am more of a Peaches kind of guy. But I can tell you, I don't think Lump is nearly, the most played thing when I'm listening to the 90s stuff.
So the songs and like that didn't shock me a whole lot. Like I do listen to a lot of Pink Floyd, or like when you get on a Pink Floyd playlist, like it'll play artists like Pink Floyd, and Stones fall into that every now and again. The thing that shocked me, I listened to 14,610 minutes worth of music this year.
How do you get that stat that says what percent? I got 120,000 minutes.
Holy shit.
But I don't see anywhere where it says you played 15,384 songs this year.
I played 318 different artists. That's all I know.
Your top song was Lump. Yeah, now it's doing the whole presentation. I got to sit here and wait for it.
See, I only played 449 songs this year.
Oh, it says you were in the top 0.005% of listeners globally.
There you are, Bill. You're a 1%er.
But does that just mean for Lump? Yeah, I'm confused.
No, that means for all your songs, I think.
So it says you streamed Lump 51 times starting on April 25th.
Oh my God.
I must have gone to bed and it got stuck.
Repeat. How many times?
It says 51, and that made it my top song of the year. 51.
Dude, that's 5 times a month.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. I'm definitely not listening to Lump.
Well, it's like 4 times a month, I guess. 3.5 times a month. I don't know. So listen to this. My number one song, like I said, Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones. Number 2 is Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, which I don't recall. Number 3, Buffalo Springfield for What It's Worth.
No.
Yeah.
This is nonsense.
Apparently. Number 4, The Eagles, Hotel California. And number 5, Island in the Sun by Weezer. Not even the best Weezer song, so I don't know what kind of shit playlist I've been listening to. Here's where I wanted to get into. I spent 11,906 minutes listening to podcasts this year.
Really?
Apparently so.
You're way more into them than I. What tab is that?
5. If they're identical. I don't know if they're identical.
Yeah. Oh, I got to wait for a little presentation. It's awfully pretty. Give me the data. Mine says March was your lounging jam band instrumental funk phase.
February was my psychedelic progressive rock phase. That was when I was listening to all my Pink Floyd and stuff like that. But May I got a little grungy. May was my pumpkin spice permanent wave grunge season, when I was listening to artists like Nirvana and the Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam.
Does that feel real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why would it lie? This has to be like real data, right? July was my coastal grandmother fingerstyle yacht rock moment where I was listening to Fleetwood Mac, King Harvest, and the Yardbirds.
There you go.
I was up in Maine. That would be a yacht rock kind of town then.
So my top 5 artists, they all make sense except for one.
Can I pick the one that doesn't fit?
Yeah. All right. Van Halen was number 1.
Checks.
Oingo Boingo was
Checks.
number 2.
Yep.
Primus was number 3.
Okay.
All right. Red Hot Chili Peppers was number 4. Anthrax was number 5.
I would think for you, it would be number 4. I don't think that you were listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I love old Chili Peppers.
Old Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the new stuff as much. But Anthrax, which I also love. I love Anthrax, one of my favorite metal bands. But I'm not in a metal mood. Like, I haven't been listening to much metal. So
no
that
Ian
doesn't...
Scott for you or anything?
It's Ian, Scott Ian. Scott Ian. That's
okay.
right.
I was doing how I look them up in a phone book.
Yeah, very good. Good.
What's a phone book?
Good cover. But yeah, Anthrax is my number 5th most listened to band of the year. That doesn't seem right. Maybe 5 years ago.
Wow.
My number 1 song is Lump. My number 2 song is Flagpole Sitta.
Love that. Little Harvey Danger.
I mean, that's one of our songs in the band, so maybe that's why. Number 3 is Winona's Big Brown Beaver.
What the fuck is that?
I love Primus. It's a Primus song.
Okay.
But like, I don't think that was the most listened to, top 3 most listened to songs. Number 4 was Suck My Kiss. Maybe.
Okay.
I do kind of have a soft spot for that song. And at number 5 is Burnin'. I don't even know what Burnin' is. No idea. Burnin'.
This is interesting. CCR made my top 5 artists, didn't make my top 5 songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got like a message here from John Fogerty.
What? Like a cameo?
Hold on.
Oh, clever. That
Who
was
knew?
a really cool feature. You got a cameo.
I got a
From John
cameo
Fogerty.
from John Fogerty. Did you not get one of these?
I didn't get that, no.
Wow. Well, only because we were in my top 5, I guess.
Well, Van Halen didn't play ball.
God damn it, baby, no, I ain't lying to you. I'm only gonna tell you one time.
Yeah, but I'm surprised that like Flea wasn't available from Chili Peppers.
Right. Oh, that's a cool idea.
Now, of my 11,906 minutes worth of podcasts, my top podcast topic was comedy. And my top 5 podcasts were, number 1, Did You Hear About This? Retro Pop Culture.
He said it.
Number 2, New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce, which I got to tell you, I stopped listening to. I'm tired of seeing Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce everywhere I fucking look on a Sunday trying to watch a football game.
There was a clip that went by. I guess they interviewed Bill Murray. And
Yeah.
I was so annoyed by these two guys. I was like, shut up. Stop laughing. You're annoying me. Yeah, I'm becoming less and less of a fan of these guys the more that they become overexposed.
It's just so overexposed, just saturating everything. Number 3, I listen to Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR. Number 4, our friend Will and his crew over at 1980s Now. And number 5, History That Doesn't Suck.
All right.
So that's where I've been listening to.
Yeah, I'm not listening to my podcast on Spotify.
How do you get your podcast?
Google Podcasts.
Google Podcasts.
Yeah. So they don't do a wrap up.
Well, get on board, guys. Everybody's talking about these damn raps.
I'm going to start moving over to Spotify for my podcast. I tell everybody to listen to us on Spotify. I might as well take my own advice, eat my own dog food.
Well, most people do. Most people, like Spotify, our apps tell us who's listening and where they're listening.
Yeah.
And Spotify is, by and large, number 1. Distant second is Apple Podcasts.
Well, that's why I bought stock in Spotify. I really do believe that in 5 years, they're going to own the podcasting space, right? They're already trying to get people to move over and host there. We host at Buzzsprout, but they make it awfully appealing to move everything over to them, and they'll be able to give you better analytics. So it's a matter of time till I move over.
And once you get that sweet, sweet synergy.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely synergies when you're working with platforms like that who are out there making deals.
If they want to throw money at us, I'll go exclusively to Spotify. I'm not above that.
I'll only take the Joe Rogan money, though. It's got to be that high.
Wasn't he like the highest ever?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh.
And then that whole thing was, he had to pull all of that off the other platforms. It's only on...
You can't get archives or anything of his old shows anyplace else.
I think you're right. You can see him on YouTube, but crazy. Yeah, this stuff's going to start consolidating and changing in the next 5 years for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just ready for better tracking. It sucks not knowing much about who's visiting.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if you guys are bots. We might be talking to thousands of bots. Maybe nobody's out there listening. Maybe we got like 5 people listening and our analytics are lying to us. We have no idea.
Well, the bots aren't writing us emails. And we do have listeners that write us mailbag. And fuck uppers.
That's a good point.
There's Bill with his bleak outlook on things again.
See? I need you around.
I'll tell you, the past 2 months were our highest months ever. And we're trending well this month as well. So thank you again. Keep telling those friends.
We're going to start making shorts over on, which we did make one already. I got to make a few more. I'm going to see if that can help drive some traffic.
That's right.
We're doing all the things.
Eat my shorts.
I don't even have a comeback for that.
I wasn't going to say it.
Just a great clip. Just a great soundbite opportunity.
Yeah. That's right.
Eat my shorts.
All right, you ready for the story?
Yeah, I got nothing else to talk about.
Well, I do.
I lie. I do have one more thing to talk about. I mentioned last week my wife really wanted to go see Wicked,
Mm-hmm.
and she couldn't get tickets, so her and the kids went to go see Moana 2. Well, this afternoon, I'll be going to see Wicked. Did you hear about this? Wicked is actually part 1. They're coming out with part 2 of Wicked next year. They did the old Lord of the Rings, Twilight, and Harry Potter. They split up the movie into 2 parts. Did you hear this advertised anywhere that this was part 1 of a movie?
No.
If you went to go sit down and watch a movie and it just stopped and they're like, oh, part 2's coming next year, and you had no idea that this was part 1, because they're not advertising this as part 1, wouldn't you be a little pissed off?
Well, they did something like that with Endgame, right? Marvel Endgame, everybody, Infinity War. Everyone fucking evaporated at the end.
Yeah.
I wasn't pissed off. I was shocked, and I left exhilarated.
But that's a little bit different because all of those Marvel movies fit together. If they weren't going to wrap it up in that one, you knew there was going to be another Marvel, either individual solo movie or another Avengers coming in the next few years that was going to tie it all together.
You're right. I did know there was another one coming.
Sure.
So it is different.
Have you heard anything about Wicked 2 coming out next year?
I haven't heard anything about Wicked 1.
Yeah, it was just Wicked. It's how they're selling it.
I don't even know what this movie's about. I know nothing about this movie. It's just not for me. It's a Wizard of Oz thing, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But I don't know how I feel about the slyness of, like, from a marketing perspective. You're a marketing guy. Would you rather know you're going to see part 1 of a 2-parter, or you just want to, they got my money, I'm just going to go in and sit down, they're giving me half of a story?
Are you saying there's no ending?
I don't think there's an ending to this. Because the original source material, well, the original source material was a book, but, the Broadway show, you didn't go to see 2 different Broadway shows. You went to go see Wicked. They told you the whole fucking story. Now I'm going to see Wicked the movie, expecting to see the same thing, and they're just going to chop it off somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that would be annoying. You don't get a good ending.
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed by the whole thing.
I mean, Empire Strikes Back, some of those movies had hard endings, but there was still an ending.
Yeah.
And they left a lot hanging, but it was still an ending enough.
But the movie opened up with the opening crawl saying episode 5 or episode 2, maybe they did back on the original, but you knew there was more coming.
Yeah.
It was told that there was more coming.
What if this movie flopped? It would just be one of those movies that didn't have an ending. It would be like Alf.
I don't know. Ask Kevin Costner.
Yeah, ask Kevin Costner.
Yeah, a 4-parter that was supposed to be coming out, and part 1 lost the farm.
Well, I said it was like Alf. Remember they made a full episode of Alf and the aliens come, and then they didn't renew the next season. That was the cliffhanger for the final season of Alf. And then they said,
the aliens came. I thought he was flying back to Melmac.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But there's a big scene where the alien ship is there, and what happens to Alf? And they didn't renew the show. So it just fucking ended that way.
That's a gamble.
Yeah, it is a big gamble.
But there is so much marketing behind this Wicked thing. Xfinity has like the witches and all of their commercials. Target has like the product and the witches and all their commercials. It's just everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Well,
yeah. See, I'm not watching any of that stuff. So, I mean, I read that it was a hit. I wouldn't be like, I'm so isolated because of my algorithms that you'd have to tell me it was a massive hit for me to believe you, because I don't notice that. I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere.
Apparently it's a massive hit.
Yeah. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Read that in the headline.
That's as far as you got.
That's as far as I got. Yeah. That's as much as I know about Wicked.
Yeah. So I'll see how it's going. I'll watch it and we'll see where it goes, how it is. But I'm a little annoyed that I'm not going to get an ending.
You're in that phase where you still got to watch all the kids' movies. I remember that
I don't
phase.
think this is a kids' movie.
No?
Like, my kids don't even really want to see it as much as my wife does.
What?
I feel like this is this year's Barbie.
Oh, okay. So it's more adult? Targeted?
Oh, yeah. No, it is, yeah.
Now I want to see it. I thought it was a kids' movie.
No.
Can I come with you?
I don't know if we can find a 5th seat that attaches to ours. I'm telling you, seats are still hard to come by.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to wait till it streams. Can't imagine I'm going to sit down and watch Wicked, but maybe I will. I watched Barbie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it's streaming.
On streaming. Sure.
There's a difference of commitment there for sure. All right, let's hear about this cheese. I've been eager to hear about this cheese.
All right. Well, I got a great cheesy story for y'all. Wrote a nice little tale here. Let me read it to you if you don't mind. We're talking about the Great Cheese Siege of 1910, the time a town was held hostage by cheese.
I don't even see how that's possible, but can't wait.
Well, let's think about cheese. Cheese, it has a history of untold stories. It's been used as fortification in revolts. Did you know that? In the 1700s, there was
a cheese revolution?
There was I don't have the details here, but there was a town somewhere in Europe or something like that was being attacked, and they're like, we need to fortify our walls, so they use cheese.
Oh.
Pretty clever. Cheese has been a decoration in the White House under Andrew Jackson. Somebody presented him with a giant cheese. And
a block of cheese, like a wheel of cheese?
Like a massive wheel of cheese, and they put it in the lobby of the White House so people could come get some cheese if they wanted it. It has clogged up many people's intestines.
Fact.
Okay?
I knew that part, yeah.
But never before has it clogged up a whole town, literally. So in the summer of 1910, the town of Perth Amboy, which is in New Jersey, so it's up closer to the New York side, it's probably about 2 hours from us, was the site of a cheesy calamity. It all started innocently enough. An ambitious local dairy factory had crafted a monumental block of cheddar cheese, weighing in at a whopping 1,400 pounds.
That's almost a ton of cheese.
This behemoth wasn't just a snack, it was a statement, a dairy power move. The giant block of cheese was made as a marketing stunt by the local cheese factory. In the early 20th century, towns and businesses often created oversized versions of products to draw attention and showcase their craftsmanship. It was a way to stand out, attract visitors, and promote local pride.
Wow.
All right, so we stop here. A factory built this, a cheese factory in Perth built this giant, massive cheese wheel.
And there was no Guinness book at this point to, like, break a world record or anything, I wouldn't imagine.
When did that come out, Guinness Book of World?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, Guinness Brewing's been around forever, so maybe the book was out in some form.
Guinness Brewing part of...
Oh, yes.
Guinness...
They sponsor it, yes.
They're the same Guinness?
Same Guinness.
I never knew that.
Oh, yeah.
The world records, Guinness and Guinness beer.
Yes. At St. James Gate Brewing in Ireland, that same Guinness is the Guinness of the Guinness Book of World Records. Now, and this might be a fuck-uppery, but I heard that they started doing the Guinness Book of World Records to settle barroom arguments while people were getting drunk on Guinness beer.
That's amazing. Brother Steve, are you listening? Please fact check this. That makes sense. Sure, why not?
You know how I know it's true? Well, at least the connection is true. Over at the St. James Gate Brewery, you can go on tours. It's a huge tourist attraction. They have a whole floor dedicated to the Guinness book.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
That could have been its own story.
Well, make it a short.
Y'all got two stories today. The cheese wheel was the star attraction at a nearby county fair. So after they made it...
Does it say what kind of cheese this is?
It's cheddar.
Cheddar. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once they made this thing, they took it to the county fair. They're like, we want to really show this thing off. We want to get some marketing for our
That's
company.
where something like this would shine.
That's right. That's right. So here it is at the nearby fair, dazzling onlookers. But like all good parties, the fair eventually ended, and it was time for the cheese to come home.
all almost 2,000 pounds of it.
So they loaded it onto a wagon, and the cheese began its journey back to the factory. What could go wrong, Scott?
The wheels are going to fall off that wagon, or it's going to fall off the back of the wagon and just roll on down the town.
I think you are clairvoyant, sir. Somewhere along the bumpy dirt roads of Perth Amboy, the cheese decided it had enough of being hauled around. It broke free of its wagon restraints, rolling onto the main street in this small town. Now, this was the old days where like a main street was the only way to get from east to west of the town, north to south.
Oh, 1910, this is all like horse-drawn wagons and things, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, well, when you jam up Main Street, you're jamming up everything. People can't go buy their groceries. People can't get things delivered to their supermarkets.
Wow.
So the massive block of cheese lodged itself in a deep rut in the middle of the street, which was common in the early 20th century towns where dirt roads were worn down by wagon wheels and foot traffic. Once the cheese rolled off the wagon, its immense weight caused it to settle into one of these ruts, wedging itself so tightly that no amount of pulling or pushing could dislodge it.
Oh my gosh.
The combination of its sheer size, the heat melting it into the ground, and the uneven road conditions turned the cheese into an immovable, stinky obstacle.
Oh, man. I mean, on the plus side, it wasn't blue cheese.
Would that be worse?
Oh, that'd be so much more stinky.
I love blue cheese.
That's stinkier to begin with. Now it's going to be out there festering in the sun. Ugh.
The townfolk gathered quickly, drawn by the spectacle of a cheese so large it could double down as a small guest house. They poked and prodded, they pushed, horses were summoned, ropes and pulleys were employed, and yet the cheese remained defiantly stuck, as if mocking their feeble efforts.
The cheese stands alone.
The cheese stands alone. Well done. Legend has it, one particularly desperate townsman tried hacking at it with an axe.
I would have, but you're just going to get your axe stuck in there.
Yeah, he only got hungry. He just worked up an appetite. He couldn't do anything with chopping it down, right? At this point, you got to imagine, if you leave cheese out, like it hardens.
Yeah, over time. But at first it gets like mushy, I think.
I don't know how long it was
No?
at the fair. That's the thing. I
Yeah.
don't have dates for this story.
Yeah. Do they give the dimensions? I know the weight is 1,400 pounds. Do they give dimensions at all?
I couldn't find that.
With the size of a small guest house, that's like
That's the
significant.
That's the closest I got to dimensions.
Wow.
It says here, Scott, then the real problem began. It was summer, it was hot, and the cheese, as we all know, does not thrive in heat.
No.
So as the sun beat down, the cheese began to melt, the air grew thick with the pungent aroma of putrid cheddar.
It stinks.
People fled their homes, clutching handkerchiefs to their noses as the overpowering stench invaded every corner of the town. Businesses shuttered their doors and the streets became eerily quiet, except, of course, for the buzzing horde of flies. Now swarming the melting disaster. I mean, this whole town is being destroyed by a giant
Cheese.
chunk of cheese.
This whole town is being destroyed by a marketing gimmick.
Oh my God, he must have been the most hated. Whoever the CEO of that company was must have been the most hated person in the fucking town. Local newspapers christened the event the Great Cheese Siege, and they weren't exaggerating. The cheese had essentially taken the town hostage. Desperate for a solution, Perth Amboy called in reinforcements from neighboring towns. It took 2 full days of sweat, ingenuity, until the cheese was finally dragged out of the street and dumped into the factory yard. So what happened to the cheese, you might wonder? The cheese was beyond saving, having absorbed so much dirt and grime and general street filth that it became a biohazard. Yet the factory owners, perhaps channeling the spirit of true American optimism, decided to make the best of things. Instead of letting the cheese rot in shame, they threw a town-wide cheese party.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Though the cheese was inedible by this point, everyone was invited to take a chunk of the infamous block home as a souvenir.
Wow.
Right? So you could go carve your own piece of hard cheese. Most of the townsfolk were so sick of the smell that they barely touched it. Like they didn't even want to go and celebrate this thing.
Like you could smell it throughout the entire, it permeated the entire town. Who wants to go closer to
Right.
it? Like right to ground zero.
This was their idea. Oh, they'll love to have a chunk of it. They said that some people went to get a chunk of it just to get it out of the town. Like they're
Sure.
like, you guys aren't getting rid of this thing. We're going to come get a piece and then get rid of that piece.
Oh, I guess that's my question. If you can take off a chunk of it, why aren't you taking this down chunk by chunk? Why is there a giant cheese grater out there just grating this thing down to movable pieces?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Just out there just grinding this friggin' thing forever. I wonder how long that would take.
I mean, Perth Amboy, that's not too far away from, Pennsylvania mining country. They could just have miners out there mining the cheese away.
Yeah, well,
I almost feel like they weren't trying. Like there was one guy with the axe, and other people trying to push and pull this thing because it's stuck in a rut in the road. I feel like they weren't trying hard enough to get this thing out of town.
I don't think the factory was. I don't think the cheesemakers were doing anything. I think they were trying to cash in on their failure here. It's kind of like when Morbius came out and flopped and everyone started making fun of it. So they put Morbius back out in the theaters to cash in on how much everybody hated Morbius. It's almost like they did that with this cheese. Come have a piece. They're like, we hate you and we hate that cheese and we don't want a piece of it.
Read the room, stupid.
Yeah. I don't even know how they eventually got rid of it, but I guess they did. I didn't have any details on what actually ended up, how long it took to carve it all down, all that.
I guess I missed that point. So this is all, the responsibility of removing this falls on the factory that put it there in the first place. This isn't like local government trying to get rid of this and solve this biohazard crisis.
Well, I'm sure they got involved.
Yeah.
I don't know how much local government was there in 1910.
Yeah, that could be.
So then the last thing I got here, for years afterwards, on hot summer days, some residents swore they could still catch the faint ghostly whiff of cheddar wafting through the streets.
Yeah, if it wasn't real, it was at least PTSD, like a trauma response to a hot day.
Right. A haunting reminder of the time a single block of cheese brought Perth Amboy to its knees.
That's fantastic.
That stinks! but it's a great town.
Could you imagine it still smells like cheddar there?
I'm glad it wasn't a cobblestone street where we get down like in the cracks between the cobblestones and just be there forever.
Ugh.
Oh, can you imagine?
Ugh. Oh, it stinks. We got to go to Perth Amboy and see if it smells like cheese.
You know, why is Wisconsin known as the land of cheddar when we have a story like this right here on the East Coast?
Right.
I looked it up. Do you know the mascot of the Perth Amboy High School?
What?
Well, they really missed an opportunity. They're not the Cheddar Heads or anything like that. They're the Panthers. That sucks.
Oh, you missed
Embrace your history.
Right. Not everybody's got a story like this.
No. It's just like picking a random cat. Stupid.
Well, that's it. That's all I got. That's my story. Thank you for indulging me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I had no idea about this story. In fact, at the top of the show, when you said the Great Cheese Siege, I heard that there was a Great Cheese Heist recently where somebody stole like millions of dollars worth of cheese over in France. And I thought this was going to be like some kind of underground cheese crime ring or something going on.
That'll be the next story. I just have to make that one up.
You're building up to it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I had never heard of this.
I was inspired by the emu story.
Crikey! They didn't declare war on the cheese, though. That was at least cooler heads prevailed there.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So what do you say? You want to get into some news?
Yeah, I feel like it was a slow news week this week. I didn't see a whole lot. Everything coming across my news feed was about sports or the United Healthcare CEO guy and that whole thing. That's insane what's going on up in New York.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy and I were talking about that this morning. These aren't the greatest news stories, so you guys can just stop listening now if you want.
Don't do that. No, listen. It'll be fun. We'll say fun stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're fun. Stay tuned. No, these are good. Don't worry. I like these anyway. So you sent this first story over. It's from Screen Rant. Frank Sinatra biopic movie scrapped. You remember the story?
I vaguely remember this story. Right. Indulge me. It's been a while. I think I sent this over on Sunday.
That's a whole week away.
A whole week ago.
We can't remember stuff a week ago.
No.
It's a good thing I wrote down the details of the article. In recent years, multiple attempts to produce a Frank Sinatra biopic have encountered significant obstacles, primarily due to disputes over casting and the portrayal of Sinatra's life. Martin Scorsese's attempt in 2009, I guess he tried to do one too, but he couldn't get the Sinatra family to agree to some of the stuff he wanted to do.
Oh.
Right? He had ideas like this will get mentioned, and there's,
like it was scandalous thing. He was connected to the mob.
Frank was connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's rumors that like he tried to get like Howard Stern killed when Howard Stern used to make fun of him. Who knows?
Rumors are that he killed somebody. It just wasn't Howard Stern.
Right. That's the rumor, that he killed somebody who looks like Howard Stern.
And I'll recycle this joke because I don't care. R.I.P. Joey Ramone.
I do remember talking about this on the show now. Now that you said that. So Scorsese says certain things are very difficult for the family, and I totally understand, but if they expect me to be doing it, meaning this movie, they can't hold back certain things, which is what the family wants to do. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so now we move on to this guy, director Paul Schrader. So he showed interest in wanting to do this biopic, envisioning Kevin Spacey in the lead role. Schrader's insistence on casting Spacey, despite the actor's controversial status, led to the project's rejection by I liked saying financiers last time. I like to say it really.
Financiers.
Yes. Financier.
It wasn't Joe Lowe, though, right?
No, this time it wasn't.
Okay, good.
That we know of yet. Schrader remarked, even though he was acquitted in a court of law, meaning Kevin Spacey, he is still canceled.
Yeah, I remember this now.
Yeah, I was only interested in doing it with Kevin. So as of now, no Sinatra biopic has moved forward, largely due to challenges in securing the Sinatra family's approval and disputes over casting choices. Would Kevin Spacey make a good Sinatra?
Would he make a great Sinatra? There's better people that would make a good Sinatra. At the same time, I didn't think Timothée Chalamet was going to be the greatest choice for Bob Dylan, but I've seen trailers for that movie. It looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, I saw a little of that.
It looks good. He sounds like him. I could see he was going for Bob Dylan. Would they do the same for Kevin Spacey? Maybe. Everybody should know of Kevin Spacey's troubled recent history with his career here, where he got canceled because he was accused by multiple people of sexual inappropriateness, sexual assault on a minor, all kinds of things. I didn't hear until I read this story that he was acquitted from everything.
Yeah.
And yet I still don't know that I want to see him in this movie.
Just because he's got this stink on him, this cheddar stink?
This stinky cheddar stink. Yeah, part of me almost feels that where there's smoke, there's fire.
Well, it's like I said to you when you wrote this to me and sent it over. I was like, wow, I don't know what to think about Kevin Spacey anymore.
I don't either.
I saw him on a show not too long ago, and he's basically pleading for acceptance. Like, hey, guys, I want to be in Hollywood. Like, I'm broke. This court case took everything from me, and I found guilty, and you guys still won't let me back in.
No, found innocent.
Oh, yeah, found innocent.
Okay.
And he's like, you guys still won't let me back in. But yeah, in the court of public opinion, you're canceled, dude. That's how it is these days.
But part of me almost feels, why would you want to still stick around Hollywood?
What else could he do? It's probably the only skill he's got is
You
acting.
think?
Maybe.
That's it? Become a writer.
You're canceled. Who's going to read it?
You're not going to sign those books as Kevin Spacey. You're not going to sign those scripts as Kevin Spacey.
That's true. You could do.
You're going to ghostwrite it.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that.
I mean, these were other Hollywood people that made these accusations of him. Why would you go back to get kicked in the nuts again?
The kid that made the accusation is still working.
Well, yeah, he was the one of the main guys in Rent, the Broadway musical, right?
Yeah, he's on some show on network TV now. And Kevin Spacey can't get a job.
That's almost a fate worse than death, being on network TV.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear about the acquittal of these cases. And this is how I feel about it. I don't know that I want to see Kevin Spacey in another thing. You feel a certain way about somebody for so long, it turns out that it's not true. I almost also want to say, like, acquittal does not equal innocence. Like, did they acquit him on a technicality? Like, that happens sometimes. I don't know enough about this story for me to be like, oh, yeah, I want to see Kevin Spacey again. And I'm not saying that that's the right way to feel about it, but I can also say, if I was a financier, I don't think I would be throwing my money at a movie that's going to be backed by Kevin Spacey, because if I still feel this way about that kind of stink he has on him, I'd have to imagine most of the general public is too, and that movie's tanked right from the get-go, Frank Sinatra or not.
Yeah, right. It's interesting when you compare him to like somebody like Mel Gibson, who said racist, terrible things, and nobody found him innocent of that. He did it.
He did it.
And he still is able to get work.
Yeah, but not as good as what he was getting before. What's the last blockbuster Mel Gibson movie you saw?
Yeah, he was in something with Mark Wahlberg and not Will Ferrell. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was Daddy's Home?
Something like that.
He made two of those.
I don't know that Mel was in both of those. I think he was just in the one. He showed up as Marky Mark's dad.
Yeah, and then John Lithgow played Will Ferrell's dad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you remember it. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then he did a Santa Claus movie where he was like a tough Santa Claus. And that's kind of it. But
they weren't breaking records.
They weren't breaking records, but it was mainstream.
People were still backing him financially.
Yeah. I'd think I'm not going to put any money. I'm not going to back him at all. Like he's a risk. But
now, he was not the star actor in those movies. He was an also ran in those movies. I can't say about the Santa Claus one, but certainly in Daddy's Home, he was like one of a blockbuster cast of four. Like Marky Mark and Will Ferrell were the headliners.
Yeah. No, he was the primary in that Santa movie that I can't think of.
The last Santa movie I watched was Kurt Russell.
There's too many fucking Santa movies. There's another Santa movie this year. The Rock is in it. Chris Evans is in it.
Red One.
Yeah, every year they got a...
J. Jonah Jameson. He plays Santa Claus.
Does he?
A Jack Santa Claus, yeah.
It's kind of like it was with the music business. Everybody wanted to make a Christmas song. Because if you had a hit Christmas song, that thing would make you money every year.
Worked for Mariah Carey.
Worked for Mariah Carey.
She stole that shit.
Yeah, same with
Allegedly.
wedding songs. Oh, yeah, that's right. We did an episode about that.
Allegedly.
So I guess that's the same thing with movies. Everybody wants to create the next Elf, or the next... Christmas Vacation.
You know what? I said it earlier in this show. Fucking Jason and Travis Kelce put out a Christmas album the past 3 years. Well, Jason Kelce did. Travis Kelce's on this year's. It's like, what are we doing? And that's for charity, so that's kind of commendable, but everybody's putting out a Christmas album. Ben Folds was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert the other night promoting his Christmas album.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's a fall from grace.
Let's talk about how pessimistic I am.
Let's hear it.
When you told me that the Kelceys made that thing for charity and that's commendable, part of me goes, yeah, but they also did it for the attention.
Of course.
Is that commendable?
Well, it was Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, and Jason Kelce the first year. Then they had like special guests join in the second year. And Connor Barwin's also involved in this too. I think he does like record producing.
Really?
Former Eagle
I
Connor
remember
Barwin.
him.
Yeah. So, then this year they brought Travis in to sing one too. They had like Donna Kelce in there. Like the Kelceys are just fucking everywhere. They became like United States royal family here just because he's doing Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I have a complaint with, I see it in the business sector a lot. People bragging about the great work they've done in the charity. I don't think you're supposed to tell people when you're charitable.
You want to be anonymous?
Be anonymous. Just don't do it for promotion. Don't do it to pat yourself on the back publicly. Maybe that doesn't really, now in hindsight, sound like what Kelceys are doing. But
No.
yeah, that maneuver just sometimes makes me a little ill. Blech.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel that there's oversaturation of both the Kelceys and Christmas music.
All right, here's the next one from JoeBlow.com. You want to see a Spinal Tap 2? Did you know they were making one?
I didn't, but I almost feel like it's trying to capture lightning in a bottle.
Me too. I think this is going to be a complete disaster. And I love Spinal Tap. We even talked about it just the other day with Eddie Van Halen going,
Yeah, I was going to say, at least this time around, Eddie won't be confused by it.
Right? Oh, that's terrible. Director Rob Reiner has provided insights into the upcoming sequel to the 1984 cult classic, This Is Spinal Tap, revealing the current endeavors of the iconic band members. You want to know what they're doing today?
40 years later, the fictional characters from Spinal Tap?
Yep.
Lay it on.
All right. So Nigel Tufnel, right? Nigel Tufnel, who's played by Christopher Guest, he now operates a combined cheese and guitar shop.
Cheese and guitar.
Yeah, he's into both things, I guess.
Well, it's funny. They do use guitar strings in cheese cutters sometimes.
Ooh, I hope that plays in the movie.
I hope there's a giant 1,400-pound cheese wheel.
David St. Hubbins, Michael McKean. I like Michael McKean.
He's funny.
I bumped into him on the street in New York once. I always have a soft spot for him because when I was a kid, one of the first stars I ever met was Michael McKean. Lenny. He composes music for a true crime podcast titled The Trouble with Murder.
Okay.
And Derek Smalls, right, the bass player, played by Harry Shearer, serves as the curator of a glue museum and has composed a symphony titled Hell to Pay, humorously addressing the concept of the devil wearing a bad hairpiece. Okay, that's what the guys are up to these days.
At least we're still all involved in music.
Yeah, technically. Reiner reprising his role as filmmaker Marty DiBergi. I don't remember his name.
I don't remember.
DiBergi. Also mentioned new songs for the sequel, including Derek Smalls' Rockin' in the Urn, which humorously suggests that even after death, he'll continue performing. The sequel's plot centers on the band reuniting for a final concert compelled by a contractual obligation inherited by their late manager Ian Faith's widow. This reunion forces them to navigate past grievances and rekindle their musical collaboration. Spinal Tap 2 is slated for release in late spring or early summer of 2025 and will feature cameos from renowned musicians such as Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Garth Brooks. Is he renowned? We remember Garth Brooks.
I mean, he had that huge album. It was everywhere when I was in high school. It was never part of my world, but people loved Garth Brooks.
All right.
He tried to become a grunge singer. He put like that one album where it was like a different name.
Yeah, what was his name? Do you remember? Christian or something?
No. I can see him. He had like a black soul patch.
Yeah.
And eye makeup.
Yeah, what was his name?
I don't know, but you know what I'm thinking?
What?
Kevin Spacey should take notes.
There you go.
He could pull an alter ego like Garth Brooks tried.
What was it? It was like Chase or something. Like he had a hip 90s alt rock name.
Yeah.
Damn it. Can't remember.
Chris Gaines.
Chris Gaines. That's what it was. Oh, so good. So good. There's a Kiss tribute album that came out, and Garth Brooks is on it doing a Kiss song. Like he was always kind of like, yeah, I do country, but I like rock and roll.
Most countries, like, remember Taylor Swift started as a country musician?
Yeah, that's right.
Faith Hill and Carrie Underwood, they're all country music, but that's rock and roll.
Yeah, it really is. But he's always been cool that way and I guess Chris Gaines was his way of being like, I can't go do rock as Garth Brooks. Nobody will accept it.
Yeah.
But he didn't really fake the fact that he was Chris Gaines. Like he'd go out and do interviews as Chris Gaines and be like, you're Garth Brooks. And he'd be like, who? Like he, he'd have fun with it.
I just have that kind of face. I kind of like to punch.
He did have a punchable face, didn't he? Coming from a guy with a punchable face.
Well.
All right, here's another one from Variety. We talked about Bill Murray earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Bill Murray again. So in a recent interview, Bill Murray addressed criticism of the current Saturday Night Live cast, defending the show against claims that it has become lousy. So he says, people always give me a hard time about it. Oh, God, the original show was so great, and it's lousy now. I'm like, no, it's not. The show that's on now, it's the same stuff that we used to do then. So him saying that got me thinking, maybe it's not that the show is bad, because I hear it too. The show's terrible. Show's terrible.
I still watch it.
I watch it here and there, and I've never really gotten the same criticism that the others give it, that it's so bad. It's still the same show. I just feel like our tastes have changed.
I don't even think it's that. I think we look back on the past 50 years of Saturday Night Live, and you remember your favorite skits, and you remember the classic skits, but for every classic skit, there was probably 3 stinkers. And now if you're watching at current time, and you're watching a full hour episode on Saturday night, there might be 2 good skits, but the rest of them are like, meh.
Yeah, I just think the humor's run its course. For the people that are still into it, great, but it's not a mass audience machine anymore.
I can tell you, Jenna doesn't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
She's like, man, this isn't good. But Weekend Update is still funny. I still like the Weekend Update segment. That's usually solid every week. But it's really no different than what they do on The Daily Show. It's identical to what they do on The Daily Show. Or, what Seth Meyers does in his opening, Deeper Look or the Meanwhile with Stephen Colbert. Like all the late night shows basically have their version of Meanwhile. Fuck, this right here, what we're doing right here, talking about the news, is what they do on Weekend Update.
Yeah, exactly. The show, I know, when I was watching it, got pretty one-sided politically.
Yeah, very much.
But one of these last episodes I watched had Bill Burr, and he went in right as Trump, like he was the first person to do a
post-election show. He was the Saturday post-election.
He was controversial as hell.
Yeah.
And, I read people saying, Bill Burr, read the room. Like, he read the room. He knew what he was doing. He was trying to piss everybody off. He was being a comedian.
Well, Saturday Night Live last season had Trump on as a host.
Not last season. That was a couple seasons ago, I think.
Well, not the current season. I thought it was just last season.
It may have been. Maybe I missed one. He's definitely, they've had him on.
Yeah.
So they do sort of play both sides, but I want them to parody both sides. I don't want to, when they were just doing the one side, I was getting a little tired of that.
They busted Joe Biden's balls pretty good.
Yeah, I guess. It seems like they're doing it now.
It feels like they were doing it more since he dropped out of the last election. They had, I almost said Jim Carrey. They had Dana Carvey come back.
Oh, he's so funny. Dana Carvey.
And he did it. He was like the bumbling idiot.
Yeah. Well, there's more here about Bill Murray.
Okay, let's hear more.
So they're asking him some other things. I guess the 50th anniversary of SNL is coming up. Remember they had the 40th?
The movie's coming out too.
Yeah, the movie's coming out. Yeah, so they're doing another decade celebration type thing. I remember
February.
Oh, is it in February?
February 2025, yeah.
I remember the last one. I was way into it to see all the people show up.
Well, Steve Martin showed up and a bunch of people showed up. Yeah.
Eddie Murphy showed up.
I know.
And something went wrong with the production because he's just standing there like an idiot taking the applause. Was he supposed to say something? Something
I remember that
really weird happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're going to try it again. So they were, saying to Bill Murray, they're like, would you ever want to host the show? He said, I'd like to try that.
Okay.
Could you imagine him now wanting to do that?
No. Sounds like he's hard up.
Sounds like he's trying to shake that bad image.
Hmm.
And then,
You think Chevy Chase is showing up?
No.
People hate Chevy Chase.
People hate Chevy Chase. I don't think they want him anymore. They'll probably bring him on for a side bit like they did in, the 40th episode or 40th anniversary. They just won't put a big spotlight on him like they did for Eddie Murphy.
Martin Short will be there. Steve Martin will be there, I'm sure.
It says here, former cast members Rob Schneider recently claimed that Murray absolutely hated the 90s cast, particularly Chris Farley and Adam Sandler. Schneider said he wasn't very nice to us. He hated us on Saturday Night Live when he hosted. Oh, I guess he did host before. Absolutely hated us. I mean, seething. He hated Chris Farley with a passion. I think it was because Chris thought it was cool to be Belushi.
Oh, yeah. I heard this before.
Yeah. Murray has not publicly addressed Schneider's allegations. These insights showcase Murray's perspective. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Bill Murray still trying to stay in the public eye.
Good for him.
Oh, good for you.
To your earlier point, what else can he do?
Yeah. How much money do you think a cast member on Saturday Night Live makes?
Well, seeing as how we have the exact same news feed, $3,000 an episode.
Yes. Yeah, that came from CNN.
Pete Davidson
yeah.
talking to Variety is what I read.
Yeah, he thinks that, he's like, well, I think everybody got like 3,000.
And Jason Sudeikis doubled down saying like, well, they don't pay you enough to make a large purchase. Because Variety did a story that was, what was the first thing you bought when you landed the job on Saturday Night Live?
Right.
And I think they interviewed like Bowen Yang and Kate McKinnon was in there, Chloe Fineman, like some of the new people, some people that retired. And Pete Davidson was like, yeah, you get like $3,000 an episode. But, we live in New York City. Like that's the most expensive thing I bought was like my apartment rent. That's what I could afford.
Yeah, I think he said he had a couch. He got a couch.
Yeah, and that who else said that?
Sherry O'Terry got a couch.
Terry said that, and also Anna Gasteyer said that she bought a sofa as well. And other interior decorators tried to come in and like, oh no, the arms on the sofa are way too high. We're getting rid of this. She was like, no, you're not. She's like, I had that thing reupholstered like 3 times. It was like so expensive when I bought it. It was like my first paycheck.
That was Sherry O'Terry saying that.
Oh, Sherry O'Terry said that. Oh, I misread that. I thought it was Anna Gasteyer.
But that's funny. It's like, you're famous now. What's your big purchase? Well, I'm going to go out and buy a Maserati. No, they got a couch.
Well, you saw Kenan Thompson came out and talked about this since this story broke.
No.
He said, yeah, you kind of, I guess they had at the Natural History Museum in New York, they had a fundraiser. And a lot of Saturday Night Live people were there and they asked Kenan, what he thought about the story. And he said, yeah, I mean, it's not a well-hidden secret that, it's less about the salary and more about the experience and the honor and the notoriety because you can move on from Saturday Night Live, as many of the names we just mentioned for the 50th anniversary have done. And basically that's you getting national spotlight coverage and making a name for yourself moving forward. He just kind of chalked up to like, yeah, you got to pay your dues at first. But he's been there, 25 years of the 50 years? I feel like Kenan's been there forever.
He's still paying his dues.
You think he's still getting $3,000 an episode? Shit, no.
Nah, there's no way.
No, he's making bad money. Kate McKinnon was like every single sketch when she was on before she retired a few seasons back. She was definitely making more bank than $3,000 an episode. That's maybe like season 1, and you got to move on from there.
Yeah.
And some people leave after season 1. So either you renegotiate or you keep working for $3,000 a year or you leave. I guess those are the 3 options.
I read the book by the guy who used to be on the show, Jay Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And like his experiences of, you have an agent. The agent says, yeah, Jay's interested in coming back. And you have to wait till the week before the new season starts to find out if you even made it.
Really?
Yeah, like it's a hard place to work for.
Wow.
And then to find out they make so little in New York, now I understand why people leave. You have to.
All the other stories I heard about, like behind the scenes stuff for Saturday Night Live, was always how difficult it is to compete against some of the other greatest comedians to actually get your sketch picked up for the week.
Right. Because
you're writing all your own sketches and you're competing against everybody else for 90 minutes of time?
Yeah.
And they said that was one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
And the best thing, you write a few sketches and maybe they get picked up, maybe they don't. Hopefully somebody else wrote a part in a sketch for you that you can actually act on.
Tom Hanks talked about this on Conan O'Brien's show. He's like, I would go in, I would try to be like the guys, I would write stuff, I'd stay late. I fell asleep on the table a couple times just because I needed a place to rest. And he goes, and then I finally figured out why everybody was giving me dirty looks. It's because I was taking away their chance to get stuff on the air.
And nobody wants to turn down the host, and they think the host thing's okay.
Yeah.
It might get picked more than it would like a regular cast member.
Yeah. That's a crazy way to work.
And he's hosted like 7 or 8 times now.
I wonder if he's still sleeping on the table.
I'm sure he's not doing any writing anymore.
No.
Well, Conan was an SNL writer.
Yep. Apparently one of the better
Simpsons.
ones. Yeah. Oh, he's brilliant.
He's so funny.
That's a podcast I listen to.
Yeah.
Did you read about this story? Jack Veal? You know who that is?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
This is from superherohype.com. Jack Veal, the 17-year-old actor known for portraying Kid Loki. Remember Kid Loki did you watch the Loki show? Remember they went to the whatever they call that world where Goliath was in Deadpool. It was the end of the
Void.
The Void, thank you. Well, when they went into the Void for the very first time in all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they met a couple different versions of Loki.
Yes, I remember the alligator.
Yep, there was an alligator.
And the old man.
There was a little kid.
And like a guy who was like a Loki from a 1950s comic.
Yeah.
I don't remember the kid, though.
Yeah, there was a kid.
When you say Kid Loki, the first thing I thought was like, is this an anime that I don't know about?
Well, evidently, this kid, this Jack Veal, is in a couple things. That's all I know him from.
Okay.
But he's an actor. He's a 17-year-old actor. He recently shared a heartfelt TikTok video revealing his struggles with homelessness and mental health challenges. Veal explained, "I'm currently homeless and have been for a while. I live in a trailer with no electricity and broken windows." And he lives in London. So he's basically saying this, trying to talk to the London government. "I fled an abusive household. It's freezing cold and I'm 2 hours away from work. I've reached out to social services multiple times, but they've done nothing." I can go on and tell you more about, what this kid's going through. But first I'm like, wow, it's so crazy to think that this guy, it's a working actor. Yeah. And he still can't, get things together. And the local London government's not helping him. There's a lot of people going through a lot of hard shit, but the last thing you ever think is an actor. Somebody who's famous and on TV now, like you just never think that their life is going bad. You think that they're celebrated everywhere they go, and just not the case.
I don't think that anymore.
I don't think I do anymore either.
Yeah.
But I have a friend in LA, without giving too much away about him and protecting people. He had celebrities living on the left of him and celebrities living on the right of him in a condo that cost $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the condo wasn't bigger than this basement. And when you think about these are celebrities you've heard of. Now they're D-list celebrities, but you're like, you must have been not even making enough money to afford living in a good place out there. Like living in some places is just so fucking hard that even though you're a celebrity, you're not even rich enough to live in some of these, higher end places in Hollywood.
Sadly, it's no surprise that mental health and homelessness oftentimes go hand in hand.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Another side of this story that I was thinking about as you were reading it, do you think that a celebrity in London, do you think the British are as big of star fuckers as what we are here in the United States?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the good news is he put this out on TikTok, kind of, got vulnerable, and social services saw it and said, we better step up. So at least they're helping him out, but not everybody's got that voice he's got.
It's a very social. This is the most socialist feeling I've ever gotten from you, Bill.
Well, I don't want anybody to be suffering, and the kid's working. I mean, he's doing what he can do.
Sure.
And it's still not working out. Like, times are tough, but shit, to me, it's like celebrity is the greatest thing to be because everybody kisses your ass and holds you up and takes care of you, and it's not true. It's just not true. That veil you're right, that veil for me has dropped only recently, but it has dropped. I do realize now that just because you're famous does not mean you're okay.
I think we've covered other stories in this episode alone that kind of show that putting yourself out there, you just open yourself up for ridicule. And with the current social media and TikTok and X and the toxic world that the internet is, I almost feel that putting yourself out there as a celebrity, some people might herald you. Other people may just be looking to knock you down and bring you down and vilify you as much as what other people might be willing to lift you up. I don't think celebrity is a great thing to be.
It's all I wanted to be as a kid, and now I see it differently. Yeah. There you go.
You still want the listeners. You still want to have a level of celebrity.
Oh, I love attention. But I don't think I want to be famous. I mean, when I was a kid, oh yeah, I would love to walk through a grocery store and have everybody pay attention to me. But now I would rather just go through the grocery store and not have anybody notice me.
Yeah.
Well, I got nothing else to say there. I just thought that was an interesting story. Why don't we end on something a little bit more positive?
Please, yeah.
Okay. So EW, Entertainment Weekly, right? I like it. I wrote here, ooh.com because it's EW, ooh. You a big Coldplay fan?
No.
Not at all?
Never had been.
Me neither. So Coldplay's All My Love music video features Dick Van Dyke. So this is a weird thing. I've seen the video. It's amazing. Remember Dick Van Dyke?
I love Dick Van Dyke.
He's the greatest. He's absolutely amazing. And he just filmed a music video with Coldplay. And it's basically a love letter to Dick Van Dyke. They went to his house in Malibu. He's like 98 years old.
He's up there, yeah.
And they just, were filming around his house. It's like a museum of his career. They would chop the video up with little speaking segments, right? Because otherwise it's just the band playing music. And at some point you see Dick Van Dyke kind of playing along and singing and dancing. It's just awesome to see. It's unusual that Coldplay's like, we're going to make a video dedicated to Dick Van Dyke. The video includes montages of Van Dyke's professional achievements and personal memories Reflecting on his life, Van Dyke candidly acknowledges his mortality, stating, "I'm acutely aware I could go any day now. Despite this, he expresses a sense of peace and fulfillment, adding, 'I'm not afraid of dying. I feel like I've had a wonderful life.'" The collaboration concludes with Martin, who's the singer of Coldplay, and Van Dyke performing together, highlighting the actor's enduring spirit and legacy. So, pretty cool.
So what things do you think of when you think of Dick Van Dyke? What projects? I mean, there's of course the Dick Van Dyke Show, which, to show, speaking of his mortality, I mean, I watched that on Nick at Night when I was a kid. And that was black and white back then.
That's it for me.
That's it.
That I watched it. Like I remember being young and watching Dick Van Dyke.
What about Mary Poppins?
Nah, see, I wasn't into that stuff.
See, he was Bert the Chimney Sweep
Right.
there.
That was a girl's thing for me. I wouldn't watch the
Really?
girl stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, the Dick Van Dyke Show and Mary Tyler Moore, I remember,
Yep.
they were together.
One of the latest things I've seen him in, he did one of the Night at the Museums.
Oh, that's right.
He was like the bad guy.
Yeah, he wasn't in a ton. I remember he was on some TV show that old people watched, and I wasn't old then, where he was like a doctor.
Yes. Yeah. Like a network thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
But it's the Dick Van Dyke
Never
Show.
watched it.
I grew up watching that. Just thinking this guy is amazing. What an amazing human being. So he's hanging in there. He's turning 99 soon, and he looks great.
Damn. That's a good run.
Yeah, it's a great run.
It's a good outlook on things, too, I think. That's a healthy way to be.
I think anybody who wants to feel a little bit happier, just for the moment, go watch that video. Like, I literally was watching that. It was just really feeling good. I don't know. What's happening to me, Scott? You're rubbing off on me.
You know what? I'll watch this video in spite of Chris Martin and Coldplay.
Very good. Well, that's it.
All right. Well, damn, the Great Cheese Siege of 1910. That is something I never knew about. Thanks again for bringing that story. Thanks for everybody for listening. Again, stupid, strangely satisfying.
Strangely satisfying.
We are living up to that tagline. Keep hitting us up on the socials. And if there's a movie you want to see us review, preferably a more well-known movie, you got it. Hit us up. Let us know. Thanks, everybody, for writing in. Tell a friend, and we'll talk to you next week.
It ain't easy being cheesy.